My brother flirted with my girlfriend at Christmas, so I cut him off. My parents chose him over me, calling him the better son. But karma had other plans. Well, here's how it all went down. My younger brother Kevin decided to make a move on my girlfriend during Christmas a few years back, and that was it for me. I cut him out of my life right then and there. But my folks? They picked him over me. They flat out told me they'd rather have him around for their big anniversary celebration because, in their eyes, he was the better son. Life's got a funny way of working things out, though, and it hit hard. Me and Kevin haven't talked in 3 solid years now, and honestly, I don't see us ever patching things up. My parents swore they'd stick by me until he owned up to what he did, but then, just a few days ago, I found out they went ahead and invited him to their anniversary party anyway. I'm 30 years old, and Kevin's 26. Growing up, we never got along. As kids, we were always at each other's throats, and by the time we hit our teenage years, we couldn't stand the sight of one another. Things calmed down a bit after we both moved out. We didn't see each other as much, and when we did, we managed to keep it polite, even though deep down we still didn't care for each other. Then, 3 years ago, something happened that I'll never forget. It was at my parents' Christmas party. I'd brought my girlfriend with me. She's my wife now, and we'd been together for almost 4 years, solid as a rock. I was so serious about her that I'd even asked my folks to invite her parents to the party because I was planning to pop the question that night. Kevin knew how much she meant to me. She'd been by my side at every family gathering since we started dating. I don't think he had a clue I was about to propose, but that doesn't change a thing. He had no right to try and sweet-talk her into leaving me. Now, you might think we stopped talking because he actually won her over, but nah, my wife Bella ain't like that. She's sharp. Right after it happened, literally minutes later, she pulled me aside and told me everything. Kevin had waited until I was busy chatting with some cousins, then he cornered her and started saying how he'd treat her so much better than I ever could. All she had to do was give him a nod, and he'd take it from there. It freaked her out big time. When she told me, I saw red. I didn't care that the house was full of people. I had to deal with it right then. So, I marched over to Kevin and let him have it. We got into it, yelling back and forth, and it was a mess. I was caught off guard, to tell you the truth, because we'd been keeping things civil up until that moment. He didn't have any reason to stir up trouble like that. Even after I called him out, he wouldn't back down, kept saying he didn't do nothing wrong, that he liked Bella's style and figured she deserved someone better than me. Things got so bad I was right up in his face, ready to throw a punch, but folks stepped in and pulled us apart before it came to blows. That was the breaking point for me. I told my parents straight up I was done with Kevin. If he was showing up to anything, I wouldn't be there, plain and simple. He didn't just disrespect me, he made Bella feel uneasy, and that's a line you don't cross. After that night, my parents and most of the family who saw the whole blowout agreed he was in the wrong and stopped dealing with him too. But then, a few months back, my mom and dad told me Kevin reached out to them and some other relatives, saying he felt real bad about everything. They bought it, said they'd give him a shot to prove he'd turned over a new leaf. Here's the kicker, though, the one guy he hurt the most, me, never got so much as a sorry. Neither did Bella, which blows my mind because he scared her that night. He should have at least apologized to her. Worse yet, I didn't even know they'd let him back in until I stumbled across it by accident. See, I was the one handling the invites for their 35th anniversary party, and when I saw Kevin's name on the list, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm pretty darn sure they weren't planning to tell me until he walked through the door. I went straight to my parents and asked what the heck was going on. They said Kevin had called them and a few others a couple months ago, acting all remorseful, and they decided to let bygones be bygones and put him on the guest list. They acted like it was no big deal, even though they knew I couldn't stand to be around him. So, I laid it out for them clear as day. If Kevin was coming, I wasn't. What he did years ago still stings, and I ain't about to forgive him. I know Bella feels the same. I told them they had to pick, it's me and Bella, or it's Kevin. They got all worked up, saying I was making it tough on them because they'd already promised him he could come, and it'd be rude to take it back. They even tried telling me I was blowing it out of proportion, that it was old news and I should just move on. We went back and forth, but I wasn't budging. If he was there, I wouldn't be. Finally, they threw their hands up and said fine, if Bella and I didn't want to come, they'd rather have Kevin there anyway. Said he'd been real good to them lately, probably sucking up to smooth things over. When I heard that, I hung up the phone and didn't say another word to them. That was a couple weeks ago. Then, 2 days back, they had their party at the house. Me and Bella skipped it, and you know what? We didn't miss a thing. We had a better time, just the two of us. After that, we figured we'd keep our distance from my parents until they said they were sorry. They haven't yet, but somehow they still think I'm gonna bail them out of a mess Kevin made. Turns out, the day after their shindig, my dad was working from home and noticed some papers were gone from his office. These weren't just any papers, they had plans for his company's next few months, money records, and names of their top clients. If those got out, it could tank the whole business. He's got backups on his computer, but he was freaking out that Kevin might have swiped them to cause trouble. I thought it was odd they were so sure it was him, could have been anybody, right? But they called me this morning, begging for help tracking him down. Said they're positive he took the stuff because he left his business card right there on the desk, like he wanted Dad to know it was him. Thing is, Kevin's been working for one of their rivals the past couple months, pulling some sneaky corporate spy move. My parents didn't suspect a thing since he's their kid, they never checked up on him. When they'd ask what he was doing for work, he'd just say he was between jobs and switch the subject, so they were clueless where he was at. Now he's gone off with those papers, and they're asking me to figure out where he's hiding since they can't get a hold of him. Dad's scared stiff if those documents land with the wrong people, and they will, the company board might kick him out. I couldn't figure why they didn't just call the police, it's theft, plain and simple, and they could nail him for it. But Mom said they didn't want to get the cops involved because they don't want Kevin in hot water, they just want to talk to him and get the papers back. I was stumped why they'd come to me, I'm the last guy who'd help with Kevin, seeing as we don't get along. I told them it's a shame what's happening, but they'd be better off talking to the law instead of wasting breath on me. I didn't think I could do much, but then Mom said I was their only hope because of my job. I work in cybersecurity, testing systems, what folks call an ethical hacker. The ethical part's the key, I don't break laws, I stop people who do. So when she suggested I could hack into Kevin's stuff, find out where he's at, and make him talk, I got mad. It wasn't just that they wanted to use my skills, it was that they'd already told me they'd rather have their better son at the party, and now that he'd stabbed them in the back, they came crawling to me. Real convenient. I let them have it, told them I wasn't lifting a finger to help because they dug this hole themselves. They could either handle it proper or let Kevin walk all over them, but I wasn't getting involved. I figured I was being fair, pushing them to go to the cops since he left that card on purpose, knowing they'd never turn him in. I thought they were nuts for letting him off the hook, but they didn't listen to a word I said. After a while, I saw it was pointless, they'd just keep arguing, so I hung up. I almost blocked them right then, but they texted me, pleading for help, saying they were desperate. I wrote back that I'd said my piece and wasn't about to toss my morals out the window for them. Then Mom sent me a voice message, sobbing, saying she felt like both her boys had ditched her, and she couldn't believe I do this since I'm the older one and should understand. They wanted me to see it their way, said they couldn't turn on Kevin because he's family, no matter what he'd done. I couldn't wrap my head around it, how they could let him play them like that and still not stand up to him, begging me to fix it instead of doing what's right and calling the police, all because they're too soft and care more about how folks see the family than their own good. It ticked me off so bad I shot back at her message, saying I don't feel one bit sorry for them after how dumb they've been, they had it coming. They knew Kevin's no good, especially after what he pulled on me, but they gave him another shot anyway. Even after he made fools of them, they still put family over everything else. I told them it's crazy they'd expect me to feel for them when they won't even stick up for themselves if they ain't got the guts to fight their own battle, I sure ain't doing it for them. Then I blocked them, I was done. But a couple hours ago, they hit me up from a different number, saying it was harsh of me to say they deserved it when all they did was trust their kid. They said it's their job as parents to forgive us when we mess up, and they won't be made the bad guys for it. They brought up how they'd let my past mistakes slide, and it wasn't fair for me to judge them for giving Kevin the same break. So there it is, I told them I ain't helping, and they got what they earned for trusting him. Update 1. So, I went ahead and blocked that other number my parents used to get a hold of me because, honestly, I was done talking to them. A bunch of folks pointed out something that really stuck with me: they still hadn't said sorry, not once, even after everything that went down. They had plenty to say, but I'm sorry wasn't part of it, and that got me thinking. They're right, I don't owe them a darn thing. I don't have to jump in and save them, and I sure don't need to feel guilty about it. I told them plain as day that Kevin couldn't be trusted, laid out all the reasons why, and they still went and gave him another shot. Sure, they'd let me off the hook once before, but what I did wasn't even close to the stunt he pulled. Some of you were curious about what they forgave me for, so here's the deal. Back when I finished college, I got myself into a mess. I just started making some money and thought I'd invested in something, can't recall exactly what it was, but it turned out to be a scam, and I lost everything I put in. My folks stepped up, covered my rent and bills for a couple months to help me get back on my feet. But here's the thing, that's nothing like what Kevin did. I didn't mean to mess up, I just made a dumb call, not trying to hurt anybody. Kevin, though? He went after Bella, knowing full well we were together, and that's a whole different level of wrong. He's not a good guy, my parents knew that too, but they still called him the better son just because he'd been kissing up to them lately, spending time with them. Now they see it was all a game, and even then, they didn't think I deserved an apology. All they wanted was to twist my arm into helping them. Well, that ain't happening. I've got my values, especially with my job, and I'm not bending them for anybody. I also cut off some other family, like my aunt and uncle, who decided to let Kevin back in. I noticed they didn't even bother asking why I skipped that party. I'm not trying to sound like I'm owed anything, but if it were me, I'd have checked in on them. It opened my eyes to where I stand with them, so I blocked them too. Truth is, it doesn't hit me hard. I've got Bella, and that's what counts. I used to enjoy being around these folks, but my peace of mind comes first. If they're bringing drama, I don't need them, family or not, because keeping things smooth with them ain't worth more than my own sanity. Bella's glad I dropped my parents too. She couldn't believe they let Kevin off the hook after he made her feel so awful that day. He'd pulled her aside at the Christmas party, talking nonsense about how he'd be better for her, even though she kept telling him to back off and let her get back to the party. He wouldn't quit, and I wouldn't let that slide even if she wasn't my wife. No guy should act that way toward any woman, it's creepy and wrong. My parents didn't get that they got an apology from him when it's me and Bella who should have heard it. I don't know what was going through their heads, probably nothing at all. Either way, we're done with them. It's been almost 4 days since I last talked to them, and they're blocked now. They haven't reached out since, but I bet they will. Maybe not for help, but they'll find some way to paint me as the jerk and get under my skin. I'm ready for it, and I know how I'll handle it when it comes. Update 2. Today, 3 days after my last update, my parents sent me an email. I figured they'd try something, but this time they surprised me. They said they were sorry about it all. They explained they weren't thinking right when everything happened, too caught up in panic to see straight. They didn't realize how rough they'd been on me, it was all a haze to them, but they wanted to make it right because I didn't deserve that treatment. In the email, they said they'd given Kevin one final warning, telling him they'd go to the police since they had no other options left. They called him out, saying he was playing them because he's family, leaving that card on the desk just to shove it in their faces that they'd never turn him in over some papers, too worried about what people might think. But now, they decided their business was worth more than that nonsense. He didn't answer them for a while, so they told him to hand over the documents or else, hoping he'd do it without a fuss. Kevin finally wrote back, admitting they were spot on. He'd left the card on purpose, knowing they wouldn't call the cops, just to feel smug about it. Turns out, he wasn't even working for their rivals, it was a fake-out. My dad, looking closer after that email, saw the card was a cheap knockoff, but it wasn't over. Kevin had a nasty trick up his sleeve to squeeze cash out of them. He only fessed up about the fake job so he could dangle those papers over their heads, said he'd sell the info to their competitors for a big payout unless they matched it to get the stuff back. Even if they went to the law, he'd have already sold it off, and their rivals would still get the goods, money or not. They were stuck, pay him a fortune to keep it quiet, or risk losing it all anyway if he got nabbed. They couldn't really afford what he was asking. It'd tear up their finances, maybe even their retirement savings, but letting it go wasn't an option either. He'd cooked this up because he'd been broke for years, mad that no one in the family reached out, so this was his payback. Gotta hand it to him, it's a slick plan. I'm just glad I'm out of it, it's their mess to sort. After reading that, I emailed them back, saying I accept their apology but need some breathing room for now. I'm not ready to jump back into things with them. I thought they'd push back, but they replied quick, saying they get it, they just wanted to own up to acting lousy and should have seen Kevin for what he is. They said sorry to Bella too, admitting they had no right cozying up to him after how he treated them. They even mentioned how, in the last few months when they were talking, he asked if me and Bella were still together and seemed bummed when they said yeah. That should have tipped them off he's still a creep, but they didn't cut him loose then. They know that's no excuse and mean their apology. It's good they cleared the air, and I hope they figure it out, but I'm keeping my distance. It's best for me and Bella, and I'm glad they see why. Maybe one day we'll fix things, but not today. Update 3. Hey folks, I've got some great news to share. After 2 years of marriage, Bella and I are having a baby, and we're over the moon about it, so much we had to tell you all. It's been 4 months since we found out, and we just put it up on social media. My last update was nearly 10 months back, so it's been a while since I quit talking to my parents. After we shared the baby news, they reached out, saying they'd love to get back in touch if we're okay with it. For those 10 months, they'd stayed away like we asked, waiting for us to make the first move. When we learned about the pregnancy, it slipped our minds to reach out, though. I wasn't sure if I wanted them around again, but me and Bella talked it over and decided to give it a shot before the little one arrives. Starting fresh as parents, we want to put the past behind us. If they can show they've really changed, I figure it's worth a try. I know I wasn't big on second chances before, but I'd like our kid to have a shot at knowing their grandparents. If it doesn't pan out, at least we gave it a go. So, we're gonna work on bringing the family back together. They told me they ended up paying Kevin what he wanted to get those papers back, even got a lawyer to lock it down so he can't use anything against them later. If he tries spilling to their competitors, it's a legal mess for him. It wasn't the smartest fix, but it's their call. Point is, Kevin's gone from our lives now, and that's a win for everybody. He needs to stay clear of us for good, life'll sort him out, I'm sure. Right now, I'm just thrilled to be a dad soon. I've been digging into parenting books nonstop, and Bella and I couldn't be happier. Things with my folks are looking up too, and I'm hoping it keeps getting better from here.